All aboard! Next stop, Chicago Junction.
Yes, and welcome to another adventure with Chicago Junction. I am your host, Brian Valou, and announcer, and welcome you to another thrilling adventure in the world of railroading and model railroading, and anything in between that we can come up with. So, at this time,
at this time,
at the tone the time is.
time for me to take my pills.
How many balls and watches is that, Chief?
Right now, I'd like to hear from our Chief Electrical Engineer, Mr. John DeVita.
Well, thank you very much, Brian. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another broadcast of Chicago Junction from the John DeVita Broadcast Center on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network on Wednesday, November the 18th, the year 2018. Today, the panel will be talking about railroads and model railroads. And now to start today's broadcast, here's our announcer, Mr. Brian.
Okay, thank you. Yes, my name is Brian Valou. I am one of the panel of experts that we have here. I am a retired Navy and railroader. I do Operation Lifesaver presentations for a program that I really firmly believe in. I belong to several organizations like the National Railway Historical Society, Chicago chapter, a couple of institutions like the Reading Company Historical and Technical Railway Society in Reading, Pennsylvania, the Pacific Southwest Railway Museum in San Diego, California, and a few clubs in between.
I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere.
Across the desert's fair, man. I believe that desert air, man. Anyway, so to my right, we have...
Oh,
his other right.
I gotcha.
Caught me unawares. Anyway, that was a visual, folks. Yeah. Thank God we're not on TV. I'm Ron Stock. I'm former library director at Eisenhower Public Library. Also railroad advocate. I do belong to both the Great Northern and Northern Pacific historical societies, and love trains.
Hi, this is Doug Kenyuk. I'm with the Railroad and Short Lines Club of Chicago, N-Scaler, longtime rail fan, and teach college occasionally, and that's about it.
My name is Steve March. I'm a retired biochemist and a big fan of both G-scale and narrow gauge railroading.
Good evening. My name's Kevin Barry. I'm a retired Chicago police sergeant and a lifelong Lionel operator and collector.
Dave DeRusca, former full-scale locomotive engineer. Vice President of the Black Hawk chapter of the National Railway Historical Society. The instigator of Chicago Railroad History Month, which we are celebrating this month, with an official proclamation from the city of Chicago, and we hope to be doing this for many years to come. And I also blog a little bit. Player with Railroads is my my railroad blog, and I do the Facebook page for Chicago Junction.
Yeah, that's good. That's right. And I should have started off by saying, welcome to Chicago Railroad History Month.
Yep.
You were the driving force to get it there.
Yep.
And everybody looks at me like I'm out of my gourd when I say, we got it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, it hasn't really progressed as much as I would have liked to for this month, but we didn't get the proclamation until pretty close to November, and I was hoping to have a poster ready for this this year, but my artist says that no can do, so we're going to have one for 2019.
That'll be good. And a lot more the organizations that most of us belong to will be helping join in the celebration.
Well, let's hope so, because so far I haven't gotten too much traction with them.
Yeah, so, I'll give our little bitty chapter to make sure to merge with yours to help out, and but our organizations, the separate organizations we belong to, like the Chicago G-Scalers,
Yeah.
and then we got the Chicagoland Lionel Club.
Yeah, my hope is that the Railroad History Month organization itself, and we're running this through the Blackhawk chapters, will encourage other groups to do their own things for the month, or during the year for that matter. Local historical societies, railroad historical societies like to get some promotion and publicity through the rail-centric publications, and
and let them know that the city's pulling together for this.
we hope. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're confronted with the changing of the guard next year. There will be mayoral elections, and I will have to return and ask again for the official proclamation, because they wouldn't give me anything for more than just this year, given that things are changing over there at City Hall.
Yeah, well, this way we can start hard charging our organizations and actually have something in place.
Yeah. Yep.
Brian, what did you bring in? What's that flashing thing on the table in front of you?
Oh, we're going to start off with the goodies?
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, Christmas is coming, and we were talking about a lot of the fine products that Menards has been putting out over the last few months. Ron's been bringing a bunch that he's been picking up for his layout, and he's really upset because he found out that this is not HO scale.
Yep. I gotta admit, it's the coolest thing I've seen.
Isn't it? Well, we can work it, with the spaceship and all. We can work it into an HO scale. See?
It needs to put it real close to the front.
What we have here is we found out the real reason why the Martians are coming and doing alien abductions on Earth, because they don't have their own cattle farms, so they're going to get our farmers for them and have it their own. It says their mission statement, to take your steak.
Maybe they're just into methane.
And it's,
Methane.
Greater East Martian Cow Abduction Company. And we have a farmer trying to keep his cow from going up into the spaceship, playing a big old tug of war. And just like all the other, Jack the dog is there to help out.
Keeping the aliens at bay.
I think Jack's got a controlling share of Menard stocks.
Jack, I found out the full story of it because we were talking, when you mentioned how Jack's on all the events. Jack is Menard's dog. Every product he puts out, a building, will have Jack the dog on it.
That's cool.
I remember Jack the Toad. That was a song, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Or Jeremiah.
Jeremiah was a bullfrog.
Yeah, but Jack was a toad.
Yeah. Maybe from the Wind in the Willows. Anyway, yes, and we actually have it plugged in and lit off, and it flashes. It'll be, it'll be a nice addition to a nice O-gauge layout.
A classic Martian vehicle. Flashing lights that are somewhat reminiscent of the alien spacecraft from Close Encounters.
Wasn't there a
In the Box Canyon?
recent news thing about them sighting saucers somewhere?
Recently,
Yeah.
I believe so.
Off the Irish coast.
Oh, well.
Well, okay, we
That explains a lot.
Yes. Well, they know where to go.
Even a Martian likes a wee dram.
Das is true.
I was looking through the December issue of Classic Toy Trains, which is basically the holy grail for O-gauge railroading. And three things caught my eye. Kalmbach has got a new 100-page Holiday Magic magazine out called Christmas and Electric Trains. It lists for $12.99 in print or digital editions, or you can order it from KalmbachHobbyStore.com for $18.99 and get both. Check your hobby store for that. It's got a picture of a young man with a beautiful Santa Fe war bonnet, 2300 series war bonnet in his hands. And next to it, the Lionel Collectors Club of America is sponsoring a new Polar Express observation car with a hobo on skis with the young man hanging from the ski, and he actually cants left and right as the train goes around the curve. This is not for all Polar Express sets. This has the snow on the roof that matches the new production Polar Express. And believe it or not, we were talking just moments ago about Menard and everything they've got. They have a 16-page supplement in the middle of the magazine with everything Menard has ever offered for sale.
And reminiscent from 1946 with the Liberty magazine and Lionel's inserted catalog.
Yeah, and you made comment on the cover art with the arch bridge with Menards in it.
It's just like
may have turned up somewhere else before.
Just like any comedian, you always steal from the best.
Henny Youngman hasn't been around in a long, long time.
You know, in this case, instead of some little kid salivating over the train set, they have a dog
That's
Yeah,
Jack.
that's true.
with his tongue hanging out.
The only thing that Menard does not currently offer is power and transformers. Although they do have the smaller transformers for their buildings to provide power for them, but they don't have track power. But they have all three of the big military helicopters, the Coast Guard, the Navy, and the Army. And then they have a smaller one on a 10.5-inch car. I'm not quite sure what that is because it has a shrouded tail rotor, but it does have an American flag above the rotor painted on the rudder. But, I mean,
Yeah,
it would be hard not to find something. And then they also are offering a flat car with a new Pepsi Cola truck. An open-side Pepsi Cola truck looks to be a 50-ish truck. So yeah, they got they're pushing hard.
Yeah, they are. They're doing good. That passenger car you were talking about, LCA, had a table up at Train Fest, and they had the car there.
Yeah, they're offering it for it's either $95 or $99, and it includes a 1-year membership or a 1-year extension if you're a member.
Right.
I wish they had offered it with the standard roof with no snow on it, so I could attach it to my set because I have one of the originals. It would be very nice to have, but it would look so out of place with the original set.
Picky. Must be a rivet counter.
Well, it's nicer than some of the things you said about me.
Well, who's got some news to put on here?
I have a couple items, as always. First of all, ticket agents are going to be slowly phased out because of the Venture app. And, of course, Metro's position on this is we're going to do it by attrition. Not sure what that means, but they were talking about how much it costs, and they picked one station in particular and said that the station pulled in revenue of $261,000. It cost them $330,000 to keep a station agent there.
Yeah.
So they're looking at strictly on revenue and ticket sales.
Right.
So eventually they're going to be phased out, it looks like. I have another story about automation at the stations. Kawasaki is going to get out of, looks like they're going to get out of the rail car business. They're taking a bath on all the contracts they have. The last one they did was for the Long Island Railroad, and they're losing money on it. So I'm not sure what's going on there.
Low bid, you know. They low bid everything and they hurt themselves.
Yep. And interesting, R.J. Corman bought 2 short lines, Nashville Eastern and Nashville and Western, and the Nashville commuter service. So R.J. Corman's going to be in the commuter rail business now.
Music City Express or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
Using
the
the old
Nashville.
Metro cars. Yeah, they're still using the Metro cars, the old ones.
Corman also operates a dinner train.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, they operate, 13 other short lines throughout the United States.
Yes, he does.
Isn't that 'cause
And he doesn't label his equipment by the line. It's all R.J. Corman, and that's it. All his locomotives are painted one way.
Yeah.
That way he could rotate them between all the different lines. Norfolk Southern has finally got Georgia to issue a bond issue so they can move their headquarters there. They're moving out of Norfolk, Virginia to Atlanta, Georgia. Interesting deal. I think they got tired of the hurricanes or something.
Yeah, they got. There's a big redevelopment going on concurrent with that move, and I think that was part of the impetus for them to move. Is they're going to get this new headquarters building, and it's going to be
Yep.
part of a big redevelopment scheme.
Yeah, the bond issue is like $575 million. Vetrix rail cars shutting its doors. Not enough rail cars to be built or ordered. They're in Wilmington, North Carolina. Renfe, the Spanish rail car company, is going to be building and operating the Texas bullet trains, if and when that ever opens. So they're talking about that. Brightline, the guys who run the service out of Miami,
Yeah.
they're the only bidders on the high-speed rail between Tampa and Orlando. So it looks like that project's going to go with them being the high-speed train operators.
Oh, good. They can kill more Floridians off, people who don't know how to stay off the rail.
Also, they are the ones that are going to set up a train from. They're going to start the first phase is Victorville, California to Las Vegas.
That's right. Yep, they got the contract for that too. Greenbrier just inked a deal with Saudi Railways to do things. Not sure how much sand they're going to haul. Maybe it's frac sand. But they're looking at Saudi Arabia's been expanding their rail service throughout the country. So Greenbrier's going to be building cars for them, it looks like.
I saw an email, I want to say 10 days ago. The Saudi high-speed train is electric.
Yep.
You know, the design is very similar to the Japanese bullet train, except it has very pronounced catenaries on top of it.
Well, anything that operates between two cities out there has to be sand and wind resistant because they're going through the desert. They were showing some GE locomotive, or I think they were EMDs, and they had like extra stuff on them to prevent the sand from getting into the works, extra filters and stuff.
People
So-
don't realize how devastating that sand can be.
Well, it's
The
like,
main air filter for an M1 Abrams tank is supposed to last through like 60 hours of operation. And they found out when the tanks were deployed in Desert Storm, it was 60 minutes.
Yep. All right, here's one. Here's one I know Dave will love.
oh, good.
South Korea is going to be putting robot railway police on their stations.
If you can see the visual, I'm laughing right now. Very
Police
hard.
and robots will be equipped with remote systems for use in potentially hazardous environments and inspecting suspicious packages. And also be able to interact with passengers to provide safety and other information. Now, remember we talked about Metro closing?
Yeah,
you know,
right.
Another Japanese station has robot train attendants or station agents, but they're robots. And they have the robots, it's a social robot. I don't know what that means yet. It can understand facial expressions, body language, and speech to recognize and interact with the customers. So it can act like a station agent. Now, a side note to this, I don't know if you guys saw this week, but China, one of the networks, introduced their first AI news broadcaster, where they had an image of a guy, but it was all computer driven. And he's sitting there talking. He goes, "Hi, I'm the first AI," and of course, Channel 9 had a comment, "Boy, half the newscasters now look like that." But it's coming to robotics.
Japan has AIs
Up
in the
all over the
hotels,
Yep.
at the reservation and at the concierge desks.
Yep, there's one that you could register with a male, female, or a dinosaur.
Yes. Brian always goes to the dinosaur.
I would.
Continued robots.
You got to stay with what you know.
A couple of stations in London and Paris, Brussels, Lith, and Amsterdam are starting to employ robots as station agents. So it's spreading very quickly.
So
Who knew railroading would be the first of Westworld?
Right.
I can't fault them for using the robo police, especially on those packages. You breathe very shallowly, and your blood pressure goes into the 1,000 over 500 when you got to do a package, when you can't get a robot to do it. Done it a couple of times. Glad I don't have to do it no more.
It's coming. It's just a matter of time. Interesting, India is trying to develop their own rail manufacturing. Apparently, they've been tired of buying it from everybody else. So their first 18 intercity trains built inside India with Indian components are out for testing right now. And they're looking down the road to not buy any more foreign, but develop everything domestically.
Well, GE built a factory over there.
Yeah. So that's interesting. They figure everything will be up and running by 2022. And finally, this is something that a little project I showed Dave. Remember the PowerPoints I sent you?
Yeah.
Google does Street View. And poking around with it, I discovered that they've also mapped out some rivers now, so you can go down the Chicago River, the Hudson River. They also mapped out a few railroads. They actually put a camera on a flat car and had a train push it.
Huh.
And the railroads covered right now, they did Strasbourg in Pennsylvania. There's one in Switzerland, the Rhaetian Railroad. They did that one. Most of the railroads in Portugal, but only the electric lines. And they did two different railroads, narrow gauge in India. And they did Peru Rail, which goes to Machu Picchu. And that one you could actually, just like you do going down the street, click, click, and advance forward. You could do this while on the rails. It's kind of neat. The one in India is strange because India will not let Google do a street view because of security reasons, but these two railroads said, go ahead. So, okay, that's what I
And
got.
so did Google put like 100 cameras on top of the Indian Railroad?
Yeah. Next.
Next.
Raise your hand.
I didn't bring anything today. I figured I'd just be entertained.
Okay, well, we can do a little entertaining then. Going to Nashville, the Nashville Steam Preservation Society. Remember them guys?
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones that are going to get that yellow jacket out. and rebuild. The initial fundraising goal of $500,000. They have surpassed it, and what it is, they're trying to get a facility, so they can start rebuilding that northern number 567. And they anticipate the relocation of the locomotive is planned for basically the end of this year or the beginning of next year. Good news. Southern Pacific number 18 was just recently rebuilt. This was the locomotive that ran on the narrow gauge, SP's narrow gauge out in California. And they finally, they trucked it from Independence, California to Durango. And they're hooking it up there, so this way the crews will learn how to run an oil-burning steam locomotive. They have a locomotive that's been on display there, 4900 series, actually 493, and they're going to rebuild it, and they're going to convert the whole thing to oil burning because of the issues that happened this summer in Durango with the fires, that they're finding out. They're trying to tell the lawyer to keep his mouth quieter because they're finding out maybe the steam locomotives did not start the fires, which they were being blamed for.
It's always the railroad's fault. We know that.
Oh, that's so true, so true. So number 18 will be pulling it, but to help ease some of the millennials that are now living in Durango, they are ordering 2 locomotives at 2,000 horsepower. So this way they will be able to pull one of the trains that does go up there, because they have a bunch. They actually have, I think, 6 45-tonners, and they're trying to get them all, trying to get a couple of them MU'd so they can plug them together to help pull a normal train up to the Silverton from Durango.
So no truth to the rumor that they're converting to cannabis oil, right?
Well, that's supposed to be under wraps. And it's under wraps at this time.
Okay.
How will the
That would make a lot of people happy,
How
though.
will the
Yes, it
engineers
would.
pass their physicals?
Yes, they would make them. So, interesting now that they're getting a lot, they've had a lot of locomotives visit Durango, so this is a first for the Southern Pacific. And on that note, we have a gentleman here with us, Steve March, who is a part of the Friends of the Cumbries and Toltec.
Yep,
The southern portion of that line.
the longer portion,
Okay, yes.
the more scenic portion. Well, Animus
Yeah.
is pretty scenic, but
Okay, at this time, we're getting close to, we're taking a station break at this time.
And you are listening to Chicago Junction on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network from the John DeVita Broadcast Center on Wednesday, November the
Do station
14th.
break, if you gotta go pee, go.
On Wednesday, November the 14th, the year 2018. And now back to Chicago Junction and Brian.
Thank you, John. Welcome back, and we're getting ready to our talk with Steve March on the Friends of the Cumbries and Toltec. Is that correct?
correct.
And basically tell us about the organization a little bit.
Well, first of all, of course, the Cumbries and Toltec used to be the Rio Grande, and after the Rio Grande started abandoning trackage, or actually before that, when they started changing to standard gauge, there was a section that was too twisty and too steep to convert to standard gauge and make any money. Actually, I don't think they ever made a lot of money, but that 64 miles goes through some of the most scenic, mountainous territory, but they were just going to abandon it. And a small group of local people got together, and they convinced Colorado and New Mexico to purchase it jointly. It's a state-owned railroad, and I think the way I understand it, Durango got all of the engines, and Cumbres got all of the other rolling stock. But it started out with only a handful of people trying to restore boxcars. They cut windows in them to make them into box coaches, and they got there were some engines that they got a hold of that were originally on the line, and they started running a tourist railroad, and that was the beginning of '74, I think, and that's the beginning of the railroad. And it soon became evidence that they weren't going to make any money with tourists. It's a little bit out of the way, and of course it starts up after the Durango Silverton. So Durango Silverton has all of the publicity and advertising. They're established tourist railroad. So they went the route of depending on volunteer labor. Initially, it was from the area around there. Barbosa Springs is about an hour away. Of course, Chama is right on the line. Antonito's on the line. They're rather small towns, but bit by bit, they got more and more people interested. And today, the situation is that the railroad is owned by the state. Its executive board is a commission with 2 members from each state, and the chairman is chosen by those members. And the operations of the railroad, that is, running the trains, safety things on the trains, ticket sales, is done by the operating company, and everything else is done by volunteers. Volunteers work on the right-of-ways. They provide docents on the tourist coaches and open routes. They maintain the right-of-way. Did I say that? They paint signs. They put out. Well, the operating company puts out fires, and repaint the cars, lettering, and all the work is done to museum standards because it's actually a living museum. If you go there, first of all, the engines you see will be engines from the late 18th, early 19th century, and the stock is all original rolling stock. Some has been, well, last summer they had 2 sets of trucks, a few floorboards, and then an occasional sideboard from a gondola that they were restoring back to its original shape. I guess they call that original because they have the same old wheels that were originally on the rails. So that's kind of what it's about.
Well, you were talking about, now besides, Cumbres is at the west end of it, correct?
Yep.
And the other end would have...
Antonia?
Yeah, we have somebody peeking in.
Oh.
It looks like our traction guru's here.
Actually, Cumbres existed, had the largest yard on the railroad when the Rio Grande was running it, because that's where the helper engines were stabled and maintained from Cumbres yard.
But the eastern end is
Antonito.
Antonito.
Yeah.
Now that's just down from Alamosa, right?
Yeah.
And they were running. Now that track was 3-railed.
Part of it, yeah.
Yeah, it was dual gauge.
Yeah.
And they were running, actually trains running here out of Alamosa down to Antonito, weren't they?
Yeah.
And they're still doing that, passenger service.
I don't think so.
They were doing tourist.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Now, do they start any trains at Antonito and go to Cumbres and meet each other?
Yeah, it's you got two options. You can start in Antonito, and there's one train a day from each terminal, and you can start in Cumbres or start in Antonito, and then you get a bus back. And it takes about 6 hours by rail and about 50 minutes by bus to make that trip. tells you something about the future of narrow gauge rail, doesn't it?
Well, yeah. Well, we can understand that. You know, like you say. I mean, you're talking about it being curvy, and if I remember reading it right, you crossed the state line 13 times.
11 times, yeah, right.
And then, but you've actually been making money with that. They use a lot of it for movies, don't they?
Yeah, the matter of fact, some of the motive power has been painted 5 or 6 different set of colors, depending on what the director. They just 2 years ago when we were out there, and we've been there. My wife and I volunteer. We've been there about 4 years. 2 years ago, they took an RPO and beautiful green and varnished the inside, rehabbed all of the wood, made it look just like it rolled out of the shop when it was originally made. And the director wanted to use that car, but he didn't like the colors, so the volunteers painted it sort of a red color for that movie. And then after the movie was over, they painted it back to the original green. However, you think that's silly, but it's not silly because they paid a lot of money for these.
Yeah, well, they paid the money for it to be painted, so
yeah,
that works out.
Yeah,
and that's good. And you like you say, you've been a member. You and your wife been a member for what? 4 years.
4 years, yeah. Yeah, it ties right into our model experience. We're G-scale modelers, and we went to a Denver convention about 5 or 6 years ago, and drove out there. And while we were out there, we went to Durango, Silverton. I was stationed at Fitzsimmons Army Hospital when I was in the Army, and so we knew about the narrow gauge in Durango. And somebody at the convention said, "Well, you really ought to go to this Cumbres and Toltec railroad. That's a really nice railroad too. I'd never heard of it, but we were out there anyway, so we did. And I found it was a fascinating ride. The Cumbres was much less rigid in their rules. In the Durango Road, you had to keep the windows closed. You had to stay inside the cars. Cumbres has open gondolas that you can ride in, and you can
run across the roof.
Yeah, right.
Across the roof.
If you're Indiana Jones, you can do
The
that.
brakes.
So we after we wrote it, I told my wife that we're going to join this organization, and the next year I said we're going to go out there and work, and she was game. So
Yeah, and also you're not that far from Santa Fe, New Mexico.
why would I want to be in Santa Fe, New Mexico?
Well, now that they got this northern that they've got
Oh, well,
steamed up,
that's-
yeah, you might
It
want to
has
go down
nothing
and
to
see
do.
that.
I have to work. This is not a vacation for us. We work.
Well, you need to take a break now and then.
No, you don't get breaks.
Yeah, that's with the friends, right?
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Steve.
My pleasure.
Is there a website that people
Yep,
can go
yep.
to find out about
There's
more
both
information?
the website for the railroad. You can even buy tickets. That's cumbresandtoltec.com. And then off of that, there's a spur that takes you to the Friends of the Cumbres and Toltec, and you can read about the Friends. They also have 2 live cameras in the yard in Cumbres. And, I don't remember the URLs for that, but you can watch trains. Of course, one train a day. It isn't exactly a dynamite yard, but around 10 and around 3:30 or 4, you see people walking around. You can see the real steam coming in.
Well, we'll definitely put the link on our Facebook page.
Yeah, get the word out to the people
Sure,
on our
sure.
Facebook. And no, because I went there one time and I drove up to the pass. I was looking for a specific railroad tie.
A tie?
Yeah, a gentleman that I know, his ashes are buried up there.
Oh,
E.M. Frimbo.
I think I've heard that name. Yeah.
Rogers Whittaker is buried at Cumbres Pass. Rogers Whittaker was an author with New Yorker magazine, but with all his rail talk and travel, he was E.M. Frimbo.
Ah, it's a pseudonym. Yeah. Well, if he went back to the past, he would see that we've restored the station master's house and the brakeman's house, and there's a dorm up there because, as you can imagine, the past was a constant source of problem, especially in the winter.
No. Okay, well, thank you, Steve.
Well,
It was a pleasure having you here.
Yeah, and if you want to learn more about it, you can go to the website, or you can invite me back.
We can do that too. He's game for more.
Or just game.
Yeah. Hello, Ron.
Good afternoon.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. How was Milwaukee?
I didn't make it. My leg gave out.
Ah, sorry to hear that.
Well, luckily you're not a horse.
Well, I was out. I was out there. Took a ride in the streetcars. I did that so far. We'll talk about that. But I didn't make Train Fest last weekend.
No, well, I was up there, and that's why when I went into the city, I had to take a ride for you.
Yeah, a little too much walking get Train Fest for me.
Yeah.
But you hooked me, so I ended up joining another museum.
What?
Yeah. Northern Ohio. It's a small little trolley museum.
Okay.
They've been in existence since '65. They finally got track laid, and this year they finally got wires put up.
Cool.
And I rode in one of the Shaker Heights trolleys.
There's been a lot of stuff going on with tracks and stuff getting rescued and with hopes of restoration. I know when that Indiana Railroad Museum closed down, a lot of the stuff that was there got salted to different locations.
Yeah.
We lost some, but a lot of it got saved.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a shame for some of the losses they have. Now they're finding out, oh, geez, the city didn't own this property.
Who did?
Not the city. And that the building that the oil, that the contamination came from,
Yeah.
was a city building.
Yeah. Well, I'd say they have grounds for lawsuit there.
Yes, they do.
There goes their walking path.
I'd love it.
So what was your make on the Milwaukee trolley, since you rode it?
I thought it was nice. I enjoyed it.
It's a nice ride.
It's a nice ride, and I stayed on it for I made a whole circuit on it. So I went through the, battery operation too.
Yeah.
And I thought that was kind of neat. It was the way they got it set up. For a little industrial locomotive manufacturer, Brookfield did a very good job.
Yeah.
They're doing more.
Huh?
They're doing a lot more too. They're building more.
Yeah, they're going to be building more. They've actually been rehabbing, I think it was for Texas. Yeah, for Texas, PCCs. Totally rebuilding
For El Paso.
Yeah, for
They
El
did those.
Paso.
And those just started operating too.
Yeah.
Right. Milwaukee's a nice ride because not only do you get through the neighborhoods, there's a lot of zigzags involved in it, so it makes it kind of interesting.
Yeah, and you get, it actually takes you to some interesting places.
Right.
And it's a free ride, right?
It's free for the first year.
Yeah.
You even go over the bridge, over the river there, which is unexpected.
That was, and the thing is, it stopped I guess 3 blocks short of the transit center.
Actually a block.
Okay, a block.
It's across the street.
Yeah, but the thing is, it didn't even go to the transit. I said, geez, nitpicker. You can't walk a block.
Yeah, it's across the street from the Amtrak station.
Mm-hmm.
It services many major hotels, including the Marriott, the Pfister, and a lot of nice restaurants on the south end. It's a whole upgraded area, probably like one of our upgraded.
That's the first ward, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they got part of the L line already completed. That's the line that's going to extend east into Summerfest grounds. So there's just the way in and the way out, but the actual part going into Summerfest has to be completed.
Yeah, but they've planning definite expansions.
Yeah.
All positive.
Yeah.
Cincinnati's the same way. Everybody's, we gotta expand this because people are no matter how hot it is or how cold. Cold, yeah, they're going to pile in, but hot, they're still piling in.
But the only thing I question what they did is if you notice that every station, it's not every street corner. The stations are like several blocks apart, but each one is elevated, and they're also in the middle of traffic. So I'm hoping that does not cause too much problems. The station's platforms are about a foot higher than the actual pavement. So you don't just you're not standing on the ground. You're on the actual platform to get into the train.
Right.
But these are right next to the traffic for the cars, the buses, and
Yeah.
everything. So you just kind of hope that all those creatures get along together.
Was that you that posted the picture of the garbage truck that made an illegal left turn in front of a streetcar?
Yeah, but that wasn't Chicago. I think wasn't it at Dallas? I forget where that was.
Yeah.
It wasn't Milwaukee.
No.
But if you recall last summer, the Ways and Means of Milwaukee doing repairs
Yeah.
on the streets of Milwaukee, they actually paved over the brand new streetcar tracks.
Yeah. When you told us that, I thought we'd fall out of our chairs laughing.
Yeah.
And we're sitting there going, we can see it.
Yeah.
You had one job to do, and you did it.
Yes.
Did we talk to the new movie star here next to me?
Oh, we talked to him a little bit.
About his
They teased me.
your new video?
Yeah, on our Facebook page, you can see the
Yes.
Chicagoland Lionel Clubhouse.
And if you want to see him live for autographs this weekend, they've got the open house.
That's right.
Right.
How much are autographs? $5? $2?
Come see us on any open house, and I'll give you the autograph for free. A request was made to the president of the club that an introduction video be made. And somebody whispered in Herb's ear that I have a voice for video.
Not a face.
No, no, but the guy that poses for the iodine bottle wasn't available. So he says, we're going to do it Saturday. I said, fine. Do you have a list of things you want to look at? He says, no. I says, well, how are you going to shoot a video without a shooting script? And he says, well, see what you can put together. Well, when I got through putting it together, it was 5 pages printed out in 16-point print on the computer. And there was still a lot of stuff that didn't hit the schedule. But hopefully it pointed out the highlights of the club. And I'm trying real hard not to be obnoxious with the guy with the camera, because I really don't like my picture being taken. Now, I've gotten a couple of emails from Amtrak, specifically from Amtrak Vacations in the last couple of weeks. And if you want to do a railroad vacation, there are some really nice ones. They run from 4 days to 9 days to 11 days. There's a Northern Rail Experience that runs out to Seattle and San Francisco. There's a U.S. and Canada Rail Experience that's 11 days. A New York City Ultimate Getaway, 4 days. It doesn't say whether you need an armed bodyguard for that one. A Grand Canyon Getaway, that's 4 days, and it starts in Williams, Arizona. It doesn't say how you get to Williams, Arizona. A Niagara Falls Ultimate Getaway for 4 days. Nolans Ultimate Getaway for 4 days, and if you do that one and you don't go to Cafe du Monde for coffee and beignets, shame on y'all. Rails to the Grand Canyon is 5 days, and the Grand Rail Experience is 14 days. And every one of these notices that I've gotten says book early for reduced prices. Now, the one thing I have noticed with Amtrak, is the earlier you book your ticket, the better deal you get, because as the day comes closer and there's fewer tickets, you do pay for the privilege of riding the train.
Yes, I think it's an airlines. And thank you for that. I believe we have a call. Hello.
Hey guys, what's going on?
Hey, Jack.
It's Jack Ryan here, and I sure wish I was with you guys instead. But with those different getaways on the train, I was just hearing you read about there.
Yes, sir.
Oh, Kevin, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, our big getaway in the summer was my grandfather. I've told the story before, I know. Please bear with me. My grandfather, uncle, and even a cousin all worked for the Chicago Junction Railroad. And the big thing in our summer was they had their picnic sometime in July, and we had a chartered train left over at LaSalle Street and 63rd to Michigan City, Indiana for the day, which was beautiful. They had the beautiful beach, picnic area, amusement park, zoo, and a big tower you walked up to. So, but that was our big thing for the summer. That was our one-day getaway.
You'd be surprised how nice it is in Michigan City now. They've done a really nice job downtown.
Dave?
Yeah.
You been there lately?
Yeah.
Now, I know there were some outlet malls there. Are there still?
Well, I don't know. I was downtown. I took the shore downtown, South Shore, and I walked around with a buddy, and it was pretty cool. We had a good time.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place, a beautiful location, and they always they had those beautiful beaches. You know, they meant don't take anything glass out there. They would fine you, and all that. So. Oddly enough, I did do a little of that. I dabbled in that pro wrestling, My first match was right there in Washington Park on Labor Day weekend, 1970. So, how about that for well, I'd say I'd throw that in.
Were you one of those Mexican wrestlers? Did you wear a mask and everything?
What's that again?
I said, were you one of those Mexican wrestlers?
Oh, no, I didn't wear a mask, I mean, lucha libre?
Lucha libre.
Lucha libre. Yeah, well, we had a boss on the job. I worked with a guy who was driving him around. Had worked with him previously, and apparently he told him I did some wrestling. So he says to me, the boss comes over and goes, "Hi, Ryan, you did some wrestling. Did you? What was your name? Where'd you wrestle? What'd you weigh?" And then he says, "Is that stuff phony or what?" And I said, "Well, put it this way, Commander. It's the second phoniest profession I was ever associated with." And he says, "What's the first?" Right over his head there. It was a joke anyway, but it's supposed to be a joke. Nobody's laughing. Hey, come on, let's hear some laughter. But anyway, how's the show going?
The comic stylings of Red Ryan.
Yeah. How's the show going?
Great.
It was doing great.
Oh, okay. I'll leave. I know how to take a hint. Take care, guys, and have a good Thanksgiving, okay?
All right.
Thanks, you have a good one, too, John.
Bye.
Our former host with the most.
Oh, definitely.
If they ever get him back up off the rip track, he'll come back and haunt the studio.
See, you were so worried about that video you made, you could have talked to Jack or me. I would have brought my Dr. X mask for you, and you could have wore that.
Oh. Well, we're a bit late for Halloween.
Does microphone work?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
You're doing good.
Okay.
I think you're giving the guy in the flying saucer a headache.
We have cow.
Yes, we have cow, and we have shoes.
Oh, yeah.
We have to talk about these fine sneakers that I picked up this weekend. Oh, they are so comfortable. And they were actually made by Broadway Limited, which is the manufacturer of scale model trains. And they're called the Choo Choo shoes.
Now, which childhood are you going through now? The third, fourth?
I haven't finished.
You're still in the first one.
Yeah. And what you do, you can actually walk around normal with these, if you consider these normal with what you wear. or you can turn them on. Take a listen. And that's just turning the shoes on. And then you could sit there and stomp. And you get the steam sounds. And the nice thing about these, you can lay your own tracks.
Yeah.
You look at the soles.
They smell like curve grease.
They don't smell like creosote?
Not yet. You got to wear them a bit first.
And yes, they flash. And if you jump up and down, besides the sounds, the headlights will come on together. And sometimes they whistle. So go out now and get them. Get your own choo-choo shoes.
When you were crewing the steam engine, did you get hit often in the head with the coal shovel?
Maybe.
That's all right. You got to work on some real live steam engines, and I'm envious.
I will say I've been very lucky in my life with that.
I was offered the opportunity one time to work the throttle on an NW2 switcher, and I said no. That piece of equipment is older than I am, and I got too much respect for it to screw it up. But
Well,
I did get to ride on it.
There you go.
Got to ride in the control cab.
Well, now you can go, when you go down to Cincinnati, you can do some rail fanning. Tower A is not open yet, Cincinnati Railroad Club, and apparently the bank are kind of at odds with each other. It's a shame. Cincinnati Railroad Club is maybe not moving back into the Tower A.
What?
But what they did across the river in Ludlow, they put up a rail fan tower and stand. Rail fans now have a new place to watch trains that officials in Cincinnati suburb opened for purpose-built tower and platform. On October 13th, the city of Ludlow held the grand opening ceremonies. And this way you'll be at the base of Erlanger Hill. So you'll be able to see all the trains that tackle the hill going up the old Southern.
So what's the scoop with the tower?
Well, apparently the bank, which financed the rebuilding of the station, most of the structural work has been done. The only thing that's moved back in so far will be the Holiday Junction in the basement. They haven't moved, the museums haven't moved back in, the IMAX theater, and we don't know what's going to happen with the Amtrak station. And they came at they have new rates for leases.
Yeah.
And apparently, I think they're 2.5 to 3 times more than what they were. But the bank decides they know what's going to do it, and they figure they could take care of running the tower. They know how to do it. And then charge people to come up to the Tower A.
God save us from lawyers and bankers.
So. And of course, we know Amtrak has done it again. A week after they ran the New River Gorge trains, they raised the rates again. Just like that, the second time in 6 months. And they took away Huntington, of course, being a switching point. So when the cars were gathered, they gathered all the cars in Chicago and deadheaded them from Chicago to Huntington. And then deadheaded them back to Chicago before they get separated.
So they're doing all this. Well, there's something going on with Amtrak now where they're looking at all their service points, including switching.
Yeah.
And they're trying to justify closing places down.
Yes, they are. They did a 12% increase
Ouch.
per car. Basically, they'll pay $3.67 per mile for deadheading.
Where's the decimal point? 367. After the 7 or after the 3?
After the 3.
Okay.
After the 3. And it's.
Well, it is what it is, you know.
It is.
They put it
but look at the holiday trains that aren't running.
Yeah.
Especially all the ones for Toys for Tots.
Yeah.
It's not just the one that made the big news. There's like 5 others.
Yeah. And
they did try to stop the Clinchfield one. And CSX told him, you know what you can do with that.
Good for CSX.
But see, they're keeping it going. That's where it's really hit hard, because all the mines are closed.
With the CN I think the CN they stopped all their Santa trains as well. I think they're employee trains only now.
Yeah, well, they're in fact, Union Pacific is now deciding they're going to follow the rulings of Hunter on their railroad.
Oh yeah, the
Precision railroading.
And
so that's what it's called.
Oh, I know.
I know that. Yes, that's what it's
That's why
called.
they put a bullseye on everything they don't like.
Yeah. Norfolk Southern has not succumbed to that.
They will.
Well, it depends upon who gets in there. Yeah. They keep letting the bean counters do it.
Well.
I understand about making money, but why? I mean, you're not hiring people because you're going to cut back on jobs, on trains.
Well, UP announced 500 people being laid off.
Yeah.
Well, it is a business, but there's also the public face of the railroads, and the railroads have forgotten that. They don't really outreach to the public anymore. And when they start dropping things like Santa trains and Toys for Tots and that sort of stuff, they're just.
I mean, that's
hurts themselves.
And that's what this guy. Why is nobody on the board saying anything about what this guy at Amtrak's doing? The CEO from the airlines.
I don't know. Obviously, they're happy with the way things are going. Otherwise, they'd raise a stink.
But nobody on the board saying anything.
Right.
Are they afraid?
I don't know. Are they? I mean, who are they? Who are the appointees? Who appointed them?
Yeah, I mean, like.
Do we have holdovers from the previous administration?
Isn't there congressmen that are looking over them?
Well, the congressmen are. They're raising a stink about what Amtrak's doing.
Well, but apparently not, because they were worrying too much more about the elections.
No, they were really on about the Southwest Chief. I mean, and some of the other states, Amtrak is trying to shift a lot of the expenses over to the states.
Well, yes, they are.
They want the states to pay for the short hop trains, and they want to get rid of the long haul trains because they don't see any value in them. They claim they're losing money. I don't know. I'm not in the bookkeeping department. Anywho.
Yeah.
On a slightly happier note, real quick. The 1st of December and the 8th of December, the chief engineer of the North Pole and Snowflake Railroad will be at the Chicagoland Lionel Railroad Club from 10 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon. So bring the kids out. Mom, grandma, auntie, whoever. You take the picture yourself. There's no $40 per child mall tax for your Christmas photo. The man sits in a big leather chair on the tail plate of a caboose. It is probably one of the most unique Christmas photos you're going to get with your kids. You know, and there's a whole building full of trains running. It's even been known to bring a smile to Uncle Brian's face.
Well, if it could bring a smile to my face, that would be an accomplishment.
I don't think a crate of C4 could do that, sir.
Yes, and also look at our website. We also have a fine listing of all the holiday trains
Our Facebook page.
on our Facebook page.
On our Facebook page, I just put it up. All the holiday trains that are running just about everywhere.
Within the tri-state area.
Yeah.
And highly recommend the Candy Cane Express at the Heston Steam Museum. And with that, we're going to say happy rails to you.
Will we?
Yes, we're pulling into the station. Chicago Rail is coming to the end of another run. Want to thank you for listening. Remember, in all the other fine programs we have on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network. I'm your host and announcer, Brian Valou. Happy Rails.
You have been listening to Chicago Junction on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network from the John DeVita Broadcast Center on Wednesday, November the 14th, the year 2018. Chicago Junction was produced by John DeVita and directed by John DeVita. And our special thanks to the executive producer of Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network, Mr. John Chicondo. This broadcast was pre-recorded on Wednesday, November the 14th, the year 2018. Happy Thanksgiving to all our great listeners, and until next time, be safe and thanks for listening.